The United States, on the verge of civil war, contained two distinct economies. While the majority of Americans in every part of the country lived and worked on farms, their economic lives differed fundamentally from each other. In the South, life revolved around unfree labor and staple crops. The North contained a greater diversity of industry, finance, and commerce, resting on the free labor of wage earners and small profiteers. The warriors would affect this picture by leaving the South in shambles and clearing the way for the continued growth of the Northern economy. In 1859 and 1860, Southern planters were flush with prosperity after producing record cotton crops, America's most valuable export at the time. Southern prosperity relied on over 4 million African American slaves to grow cotton along with a number of other staple crops across the region. Cotton fed the textile mills of America and Europe and brought great wealth to the region. On the eve of war, the American South enjoyed more per capita wealth than any other slave economy in the New World. To their masters, slaves constituted their most valuable assets, worth roughly of $3 billion. Yet this wealth obscured the gains of the infrastructure, industrial production, and financial markets occurring of the north of the Mason-Dixon line, a fact that the war would unmask for all to see. Do you guys mind introducing yourselves?
No, my name's Jack Henson. I'm a plantation owner here in Tennessee.
My name's Bobby Jean. I'm another plantation owner down here in Tennessee. Love enjoying the nice weather out here on the plantation.
We sure do love it.
A lot of crops, a lot of slaves.
Since you guys own plantations, do you guys have any slaves?
Yes, sir.
How many slaves do you have?
I have about 100 slaves that do my work every day.
I got around 50 to 75 slaves on my plantation, working day in, day out.
How do these slaves benefit you guys?
Well, to be honest, we couldn't do any of it without these slaves. They do all our work. We got acres and acres of farmland.
Acres of farmland.
You think I'd be able to do all that work? Hell nah. What do you think?
Slaves be helping every day, day in, day out.
We need our slaves.
The cotton and doing all the work we need them to do. We need our slaves. And this civil war is not good. It is not good.
Since you guys mentioned the Civil War, where do you guys think you would stand in here?
Well, we're definitely Confederate, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All the Union's points, they're just plain unfair.
They're manipulative. They're trying to get all these Southerners up in the North to be on their team.
But we ain't bugging.
We ain't having this. The Union sucks. It's Confederate time.
Why do you guys think the Union is so unfair?
I hate the Union.
Well, all their points,
I hate the Union.
calm down. But all their points, like, it should be the state's decision whether they have slaves or not. Not the whole government. Like, come on. It should be state's decision. Our decision.
Our decision.
We're the ones in the state. Them up north, they ain't in the states we in. They don't know what conditions we go through.
They don't know what we gotta go through on a daily basis. Confederate all the way, brother.
Why do you guys think it should be the state's decision on slavery?
I think it should be the state's decision on slavery. Because them up north, you think they have plantations like us where they need slaves? They're our property. We should be able to decide whether we need the property or not. Not them up there in the Union. They don't know what it's like. You think I can run my acres and acres of farm?
Hell no.
What is it like being in this location during the war?
Well, we're up very north for being a Confederate state and believing in Confederacy. So we got battles on both sides. We got Union troops coming in trying to take our crops, trying to free our slaves. We got all that type of junk going on here.
All that type of junk.
And it stinks because we're just trying to do our job and believe in what is right. And for them to come in and try to ruin our property and our crops, we're the same country still. Doesn't mean you gotta do that
our
stuff.
country gotta separate into two?
Just let us states do what we want and they can do what they want up there. We don't have to fight about this.
I hate the Union.
How does this Civil War affect your family?
My family. I'm sorry. Just taking a moment. Oh man. I had two sons, one 22 years old and one 17, Jack and George. And they were out hunting one day, and they came across a Union patrol. And he thought they were bushwhackers, so they shot him. They killed my two sons.
No, Georgie, George, no, Jack,
These Union people.
no.
As you said earlier, what is it like being in the neutral zone?
Oh, it stinks being in neutral zone. You gotta watch out all the time. As I said, my sons died because they went out too far. They only went a mile out, and they got killed by the Union.
Yeah, them Union members, they're after you. If you're a Confederate down here in the neutral zone, you never know who's who and what's gonna happen.
They come in the middle of the night. I gotta stay up because they try to take my crops. They try to free out my slaves. That's my property, not theirs.
Just because of this Emancipation Proclamation doesn't mean I'm gonna get rid of my slaves. I love them.
Do you guys have any further comments about the Civil War or slavery in general?
Well, I just hope we win this war and we get what we want, 'cause that's all we want. And hopefully we can expand westward to keep growing this country and our economy through farming.
I hate the Union.
War, like of all wars, interrupted commercial life by destroying lives and properties. This was especially true in the Confederacy. From 1861 onwards, the Confederate government struggled to find the guns, food, and supplies needed to field an army. Southerners did make astonishing gains in industrial production during this time, but it was never enough. The Union's blockade of the Atlantic prevented the Confederacy from financing the war with cotton sales to Europe. To pay their troops and keep the economy alive, the Confederate Congress turned to printing paper money, which quickly sank in value and led to rapid inflation. In many cases, Confederate officials dispensed with taxes paid in cash and simply impressed the food and materials needed from their citizens. Perhaps most striking of all, in the vast agricultural wealth of the South, many Southerners struggled to find enough food to eat. So, do you guys mind introducing yourselves?
I'm John William Pearson. I'm a wealthy businessman. I served in the American Civil War and I was a Confederate captain.
I'm William Mahone. I'm an American civil engineer, a railroad executive, and a Confederate general.
How is the Civil War affecting your businesses?
I think it negatively affects our business because people are more focused on politics instead of business, and people are fighting the war instead of trying to make business and create opportunities in the future.
And plus, all these plantations around are being destroyed by the troops because they're just running over them and just destroying.
You believe it should be the government's or the state's choice for slavery?
I believe it should be the state's choice whether or not they should have slavery because most states down south actually make most of their money from slavery.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think every state should have their own opinion and what they want.
Anything else you would like to say?
The last thing I would like to say is just that, I hope this war goes the right way because if it doesn't, then our business is just going to go under.
So, do you guys mind introducing yourselves?
I'm John William Pearson. I'm a wealthy businessman. I served in the American Civil War and I was a Confederate captain.
I'm William Mahone. I'm an American civil engineer, a railroad executive, and a Confederate general.